Fox Sports welcomes you to the following presentation of the National Football League.
This is home game number 2 for the Dallas Cowboys. They came back to beat the Washington Redskins last week. They did not get in the end zone. But as you heard, the hometown kid is back, growing up in Highland Park, and now here he is in Arlington, Texas. He made the trip last year when the Lions came to this stadium, and when we talked to him yesterday, he said, well, I haven't played there. He played at Texas Stadium in high school, but he's well aware, in his words, of all that goes on in Jerry's world.
Had so many family and friends coming to the game today that instead of getting tickets for the stands, he wound up leasing out a suite.
Bailey will kick it away, and off we go. On a Sunday afternoon, Stephon Logan on the return. Gets across the 20, gets out to the 25 or thereabouts. And eventually he is taken to the turf. The ball came out, they blew the whistle. And the Lions will start inches inside their own 25. And here comes Matthew Stafford, who is 5th in the league with 977 yards. There, the backs and receivers, nobody better certainly than Calvin Johnson. But Troy, these tackles will be tested today in keeping Spencer and Ware out of the face of Matthew Stafford.
And the way Scott Linehan runs this offense, he does not very often give much help to those tackles either. Even last week, they're in Minnesota in a loud stadium, much like they'll have today. They were blocking one-on-one throughout the afternoon.
Starting from the 24, Javid Best. And Javid is taking it across the 40. Here's a team that ran for a total of 20 yards all last week at Minnesota. And Best gets 19 right out of the gate.
You watch this side of the line right here. Brandon Pettigrew, he seals off the edge. And that's what gives Best a place to run with the ball. And Will Heller, the other tight end, over to that side. He kicks out, blocked down by Pettigrew. Awfully good start.
For the Dallas defense, they're number 2 defending the run. They're number 1 in sacks. On first down, Stafford throws. Wide open was the rookie Titus Young. And Stafford missed it. Now we'll take a look at this defense, coordinated by Rob Ryan. It's a 3-4, same as they ran under Wade Phillips, but Troy, it's a different 3-4 than they ran under Wade Phillips.
Yes, it is, and there's a lot of different variations as to how they play it. And you know, as we all know, Rob Ryan has a lot of bravado. He said, I'll put my defensive 3-4 system up against anybody's.
Putting it up against Matthew Stafford. Penalty flag, as there was movement prior to the snap, and it's against Dallas.
Offside, number 94, defense, 5-yard penalty, second down.
It was DeMarcus Ware who was licking his chops, ready to come after number 9.
Well, already the Lions are seeing things a little bit differently than what they did a week ago there in Minneapolis, because Stafford is able to use hard count. Last week they had to go exclusively silent count there at the Metrodome already because there's not as much crowd noise here. Stafford able to use snap count to draw DeMarcus Ware offsides on the last play.
Logan starts the play in the backfield, gets it on a toss, and picks up on second down and 5, 3 yards. So 3rd and 2 coming up. Stephon Logan, 5'6", 180 at best, and he got swallowed up by Jay Ratliff. So 3rd and 2. Stafford has a pocket, throws, and he's picked off by Sensabaugh. Overthrew an open Calvin Johnson. And the Cowboys defense comes away with its 4th interception of the season. Johnson was open. The charged up Stafford was high and behind him. Sensabaugh there for the catch, and an early turnover for the young Matthew Stafford.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com.
Go back and look at the interception.
Hey, you're going to see Gerald Sensabaugh up there at the top left portion of your screen, and a good route there by Calvin Johnson. On that possession, Matthew Stafford had 2 errant throws. He had a slant that was wide open on a busted coverage by the Cowboys, and then the last one on the interception.
Here's a hit from Scheffler that started these two teams pushing and shoving. And that gets Rob Ryan all fired up. But his defense left a couple of receivers wide open. Stafford just missed them. And it's the second time this year the Lions have turned it over on their opening drive, and so that means Tony Romo and the Cowboys will start at their own 45. Now Romo, you know the story by now at the Jets. 2 fourth-quarter turnovers, and the first time in franchise history that the Cowboys lost a game they were up by 14 or more in the fourth quarter. And everybody was on his back, as they've been seemingly since he took over. In the last 2 weeks, he's become a legend. A toss to Felix Jones, gets back to the line of scrimmage. That's it. At the 49ers, a cracked rib, a collapsed lung. He came back, fought his way back. Last week, they beat the Redskins. Here are the backs and receivers. There is no Miles Austin. Des Bryant is good to go. And 2 rookies, Troy, on that offensive line, and they will get a test here today.
As will the center, Phil Costa, who coming into this season had only 1 NFL start under his belt. A second-year player, had a tough week last week against the Washington Redskins. But, yeah, some real youth and inexperience there along that offensive line.
The reason for the discussion was the game clock, which is correct. 12:56 remains.
It's John Perry, the referee. The officials came together and wanted to talk about the game clock. So it winds at 2nd and 10 after Felix Jones got nothing. They fake it to him, set up a screen for Bennett, and the big tight end Martellus Bennett down to the 40. Ndamukong Suh is downfield to make the play, and we may see a lot of number 80 here today in this game.
Well, I think you're going to see a lot of these screen passes as well. The Cowboys have a number of different ways to throw the screen. It's not lost on them either who they're facing here today, with a pass rush that can be very dominant against this young, inexperienced offensive line. And one of the ways you try to neutralize that speed and dominance is by throwing the screen passes.
Now they reverse it to Des Bryant. Had 1 blocker out in front of him, and the play was made by the linebacker DeAndre Levy, a gain of 5. So as you look at these defensive players for the Lions, we've talked about the front. At the linebacker position, Bobby Carpenter gets the start for Durant, who's out with a concussion.
You look at this defense for the Detroit Lions, and it's a very fast flowing, aggressive defense that runs to the ball very well. And that's why we're seeing what the Cowboys are doing. The last play, they run the reverse, trying to take advantage of some of the speed that the Lions possess.
Corey Williams came across, and it's on Williams.
Encroachment. Number 99, defense. 5-yard penalty. Results, 1st and 10. Dallas.
There's Jim Schwartz, who's in his 3rd year. Meanwhile, I mentioned Bobby Carpenter is wearing number 59 for the Lions because he is a former 1st-round pick. When Bill Parcells was here, it never panned out. He's bounced around, and Jim Schwartz will tell you Carpenter may be their best cover linebacker. He'll get a lot of Jason Witten here today. Witten with the most catches across the NFL among tight ends with 19. That was him in motion. Handoff is to Felix Jones, and a nice play is made by Eric Wright as he knifed through, and it's a loss of 3.
And the way that the Detroit Lions like to play run defense as well as come after the quarterback is every play they're really rushing the passer, expecting a pass, and then they play the run along the way. Eric Wright that time just sees that it's run, hits it right away, and is able to make a nice play. But these pass rushers, they play pass first and then play the run once they identify it and it's handed off.
Like he's playing in a library. Delayed handoff is to Tashard Choice. And Choice picks up 8 to make it a more manageable 3rd down after that loss of 3 on the previous play, 3rd and 5.
Well, right now, Jason Garrett, both head coach and offensive coordinator, doing a nice job mixing things up. Keeping Detroit on their heels a little bit. We've seen some good plays on 1st down by the Lions defensively, but the Cowboys have come back on 2nd down and then have turned it into some manageable down and distances.
As it is here.
Yellow 80! Yellow 80! Hey, 54. 54's Mike. 180. 27.
On 3rd down, they floated for Bryant. What a throw. What a catch. Touchdown.
Sure, coming into the game whether Des Bryant was even going to play. One-on-one outside with Chris Houston. Chris Houston's never able to locate the ball. You see, once he turned and tried to find the ball in the air, he was unable to, and Des Bryant, of course, is able to go up and use his big body, much like Calvin Johnson is able to do on the other side. For the Lions, Des Bryant takes advantage of that size advantage over Chris Houston.
So just like Calvin Johnson, Des Bryant can play above the field as he just did. And so the Cowboys, who did not score a touchdown last week in a win over Washington, they get the turnover and turn it into 7.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Here we go.
You score a touchdown, you get on the bike. Ride to nowhere in particular. Keep those legs loose. He's got the deep thigh bruise. They needed him, especially without Miles Austin available out of the bad hamstring. The Cowboys are trying to get through this week. They have a bye week next week. They can allow Romo's ribs to get healthy, and then hopefully Miles Austin's hamstring.
Looks like Des needs to raise that seat a little bit.
Yeah.
Huh?
I would agree.
He outgrew that one.
It's like set up for a Grammatica. So Romo with a good start. 25-yard touchdown pass, and the 2nd time the Cowboys have taken it into the end zone on their opening drive. Logan backpedals out of the back of the end zone. That was at the end of the interception. My fault, Matthew Stafford. The other guy gets high fives. He's up 7-zip.
Today's game is sponsored by Verizon 4G LTE, built so you can rule the air. By DirecTV, this season NFL Sunday Ticket is included when you switch. And by Chase, don't get shortchanged. Get your cash back with Chase Freedom.
That's just a little small taste of some of the artwork that's on display here at Cowboys Stadium. Gene Jones commissioned the majority of it, and everywhere you look in this stadium, it's amazing the attention to detail that they paid. There is no place like it. Starting at the 20. Stafford looking for better throws this time with the ball, and Best carries it forward for 2.
Well, after that touchdown by the Cowboys, the crowd got a little noisier this time around, and you're going to see right guard here, Stephen Peterman. He looks back, and when he sees that Matthew Stafford raises his foot, then he'll tap the center, Dominique Raiola, and then Raiola knows that it's okay to snap the ball. Unlike last week when Phil Costa just snapped it whenever he wanted.
Best lines up at the top of your screen on 2nd and 8. And this one is batted away by Sean Lee, who is rapidly becoming one of the best young linebackers in this game.
Well, Sean Lee does a nice job of play recognition, and he's so fast and he reacts so well that they're trying to fit a ball in there in the slot position to Calvin Johnson. And as we know, Calvin Johnson's going to attract a lot of attention. But Sean Lee, NFC Defensive Player of the Month, and he's been probably the biggest playmaker for this Cowboys defense here in the early part of this year.
3rd down and 8. Pressure on Stafford. Best nowhere to go. And the play made out on the edge by DeMarcus Ware. A loss of 1 and a good series for the defense. An unproductive series for the Lions offense. 3 and out.
Here's Sean Lee, and he's going to have help over the top with the safety, obviously, but he's running with Calvin Johnson. And, 3rd and long, they try to come back with a screen of their own. Cowboys defensively play it very well.
Rob Ryan told us if he stays healthy, Sean Lee, who blew out his knee in college at Penn State, will be one of the next best linebackers in this league. Harris on the move, makes the catch, and is out to the 49-yard line. So the Cowboys, who lead by 7, have good field position as they get it for the 2nd time, taking on the Lions. Here is the protection underneath the jersey of Tony Romo with the cracked rib. He has a compression shirt underneath that has padding built in, and then the normal rib protector. They pulled padding out of that, put Kevlar in it for extra protection, and then just to make sure the jersey fits right. Rich Dalrymple, longtime PR director here with the Dallas Cowboys, helps him pull on his jersey. Did he do that for you back in the day, Troy?
Never.
Here is Felix Jones. And Felix Jones carries it for 5.
This Lions defense coming into the game had been pretty porous in run defense, and I know that has not been a big concern of Jim Schwartz. He's not worried so much about giving up yardage. It's all about points, and they have been very good in not giving up points. But based on the injuries and the things that this Cowboys offense is dealing with, there's no doubt they'd love to just be able to hand the ball off if they're able to gain that type of yardage each time.
Now they toss it. Levy made the play initially, and Felix Jones turned that into something positive. Levy got back there, got a hand on Jones, couldn't bring him down, and Felix is coming off a career high 115 yards against the Redskins, picked up 3.
Yeah, Levy hits it, you're going to see, and he gets into the backfield, and this is just the play then you've got to be able to make. And Corey Williams was there as well, and he's not able to obviously cut like Felix Jones is able to, but Felix Jones has those types of skills, and being able to take what should have been a negative play and turn it into something positive.
Now 3rd down and 2, and a quick throw is good for a 1st down. Catch is made by Des Bryant, who already has a touchdown in this game. And now the Cowboys will have it at the 37-yard line of the Lions, the undefeated Lions, and a team that's won 7 straight. On 1st down, as they roll Romo, move the pocket, there's nothing there as he throws it at the feet of Choice.
They're not something you really see a lot of from Dallas offensively, rolling Tony Romo out. Good coverage down the field. We look at Des Bryant here in the early going, Joe, a guy who was really not able to practice much a week ago. Not sure whether or not he'd be able to play, and he played against the Washington Redskins. And then again this week, very limited in what he was able to do all week in practice. Was a game time decision, yet he's already made an impact in this ball game.
Now they screen it again for Martellus Bennett, and the pass is dropped. Lawrence Jackson got his hand in there and was bothering the play from the beginning. It's 3rd and 10.
They had another chance too. If Martellus Bennett was able to catch this, they had some pretty good blocking out in front of them. We see Miles Austin inactive again this afternoon, and between he and Des Bryant, they've not had both of those players in the lineup now for the 3rd consecutive game.
Dallas 2 for 2 on 3rd down so far. It's 3rd and 10. clock down to 1. The pass is caught by LaRon Robinson. First down, Dallas. And they convert again, this time 3rd and long.
Well, LaRon Robinson is one of those players getting an opportunity because of the injuries. And as you see, Eric Wright, he doesn't come up, try to reroute him, jam him at the line of scrimmage or anything. It gives him a free run off the line of scrimmage. And they get him to 3rd and long, and they're able to convert that pretty easily.
13 yards on 3rd and 10. You wonder if this secondary of the Lions will hold up if they don't get pressure on Tony Romo. Again, they set up a screen. This time it's for Phillips. And the big backup tight end slams it down at the 20. A gain of 4.
It's the 3rd screen pass now that we've seen from the Cowboys. They hit the first one for a nice gain. Martellus was unable to catch the second one, and they come right back. And all 3 times they've had good blocking out front, and they've had room to run.
Sit in there.
2nd and 6. Romo with good protection, throws high and caught, and again it's LaRon Robinson, who was picked up as a free agent when Miles Austin wasn't available, and Robinson, Troy, has a chance to stick. They like him.
Well, they sure do, and heck, I like him too from what I've seen here in the early going. Tony Romo recognizes that they're showing blitz coverage. He's got one-on-one outside. Had a chance up top to Des Bryant again had he have wanted to take it. Instead, he comes back to LaRon Robinson, and in a short period of time, this young man has really had a nice presence for this team, and a player who some would think maybe won't be back when they get healthy at the wide receiver position. But Jason Garrett says not so fast. This guy's been impressive.
Now back to the ground, and it's Felix Jones who spins down inside the 5. Just to finish on LaRon Robinson, he's a former 2nd-round pick by Atlanta, was traded to St. Louis. He's bounced around a bit, but he is a big-bodied receiver who can run, and it's something that the Dallas Cowboys need.
I think the relationship that Jason Garrett has with head coach Norv Turner in San Diego was what got him here to Dallas. They run the same offense. Norv Turner and the Chargers were here practicing in the summer, and he told Jason that he was going to have to let a pretty good receiver go, and the Cowboys got him.
Handoff is to Felix Jones, and he gets nothing. Well played by Detroit. And the 2 linebackers were in the middle of it. Tulloch along with Levy. And it'll bring up 3rd down and goal.
This is an area for the Cowboys the last 2 weeks where they have not been very good. They started out the season good in the red zone against the Jets. The last 2 weeks not so good. 0 for 3 on Monday night against the Redskins. The Lions, on the other hand, this is where they've been good throughout the year, and it's why they're 3-0. This is a huge possession defensively for the Lions to make them kick a field goal and not give up another touchdown.
On 3rd down and goal, Romo throws, completes, Choice does not get in. And a good sure-handed tackle made by Spivey. Tony Romo's pleading with the sideline to go for it. And he is winning the argument to this point. Big number 92, Josh Brent, will come in as a lead blocker. It's 4th and goal.
Something tells me Brent's not going to be catching the ball here.
Detroit. So not taking the points, Jason Garrett goes for it on 4th and goal. And Felix Jones cannot get in. Ashley Palmer was the first one there. And off the edge, he made the stop. Great work and a big stop by this Detroit defense.
It sure was. Yeah, you get down in this area, and to be able to stop them and not give up any points, that's a great goal line stand by the Lions.
Lions take over inside their own 1, down 7. Head coach Jason Garrett opted to skip the field goal, and the points go for it on 4th down. It didn't work. Ashley Palmer, a big play. The Lions start inches inside their own 1. Handoff is to Keelan Williams, and he gets a little breathing room out to the 5. Sean Lee on the stop, and that's an important 4-yard run.
Boy, it sure is, because you think back to last week against the Minnesota Vikings. They were backed up, and the Vikings had an opportunity to make a tackle for a safety. It would have ended the game for the Lions, and I'm sure that was fresh on their minds. And for Keelan Williams to be able to give them some breathing room now they can operate. Now they can even run some play action stuff and feel relatively good about doing it.
On 2nd down and 6, here he is again. Goes right into the big body of Sean Lissamore. A gain of 2, 3rd down coming up. This is a Detroit team that mixes in really 4 backs. Keelan Williams is listed as 4th on their depth chart. He already has 13 carries on the year.
Keelan Williams, the biggest of the backs, and he's the guy who they like to use in goal line, short yardage situations. And as we saw here, just coming off the goal line to give them some room to work.
Now it's Javid Best. He's lined up next to Stafford. On 3rd down and 4. Stafford rolls to his right and completes to Burleson for a 1st down. A nice job by Detroit to dig out of that hole and get a 1st down. That was a completion of 7 yards.
Yeah, they're able to run away from DeMarcus Ware on Matthew Stafford's backside, and good play call there by Scott Linehan. Allow Matthew Stafford to get away from the pass rush, and then also it opens everything up for you as the quarterback to know that you're not going to be thrown into any real danger. That was a big 3rd down conversion right there.
Now Josh Brent in at nose tackle. Plays Ratliff, but the first quarter is over. 7-0 Dallas. Back after this from your local Fox station. So much has been made in NFL circles about Matthew Stafford coming home, going to Highland Park High School. High school of Bobby Lane, who brought the Lions their last championship. Trying to get it to Scheffler, now throwing in a completion to Pettigrew. So both tight ends were in the same area. Pettigrew deeper, and he gets it, a gain of 14.
Well, this ball looked like it was tipped too before it even got to Pettigrew. It was really nice coverage, and Pettigrew juggles it just a little bit and then is able to haul it in. But see the stretch there. It looked like he might have got his hands on it ever so slightly, but great concentration by Brandon Pettigrew, and what a weapon he has become. A breakout year last year, and he's been off to a great start here this year.
Danny McCray did get a piece, not enough. Now from the 27. Play action from Stafford, and Best. It's too high. Go for a game break. Here's Kurt Menefee.
Well, this is why you want to give Michael Vick every opportunity to start that he can. Escapes the pressure somehow, and then finds a wide-open tight end, Clay Harbor, in the back of the end zone. 16-yard score, and the Eagles are on the board first against the Niners, 7-0. Go Troy and Pam.
Thanks, Kurt. Here are the numbers from Michael Vick. Playing with that deeply bruised right hand. 2nd and 10. Delayed handoff. Best is dragged down by Lissamore. No gain. 3rd and 10 coming up.
It was a good play right there by Lissamore, because if he was able to escape that tackle, there was some pretty good blocking downfield. Calvin Johnson, he's doing his part on the outside on the corner, and he had a little bit of room to run had he been able to get away from that one.
Now 3rd down and 10.
All start. Number 76, offense, 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
They get left tackle Jeff Backus, who has never missed a game in his career. Former 1st-round pick out of Michigan, 164 consecutive starts, and I can't imagine anybody enjoying a 3-0 start by the Lions any more than a guy up front that's been through, heck, the 0-16 year back in 08.
Well, to put it in perspective, Dominic Raiola last week said the win at Minnesota was the biggest win of his career. You know, week 3, divisional game, that tells you how few wins they've had during that time.
Play clock at 1. Play clock at 0. And that's going to make it 3rd and 20.
Delay game. Offense. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
Well, there's no excuse for that. You know, you get the false start. You got plenty of time to get in and out of the huddle and get a ball snapped. And, you know, right now, 3rd and long, and a tough one to convert. They'll wind up giving the ball back to the Cowboys with great field position.
They have to get to the 38. Stafford rolling out to his left, looking for help, just throws it out of bounds. Outside the pocket, and he was being chased by DeMarcus Ware.
He took a pretty good hit there at the end of the play. He's able to get outside, but just nowhere to go with it, and he does a smart thing, just get rid of it.
Guy who's had shoulder issues, ended the season last year on IR as he did back in 09.
Yeah, and last week he got hit pretty good. You know, they hadn't given up a sack the first 2 weeks, 5 sacks last week, but a number of hits. And because of his injury history, you hold your breath every time he goes to the ground.
Penalty flag flies as Harris on the return is knocked down at the 48. Eric Coleman made the stop. There will be a hold on the play.
First down, Cowboys.
Here is John Perry, who's been busy.
During the return, correction, holding. Number 25 of the return team. 10-yard penalty. 1st and 10.
They get Frank Walker. And that costs the Dallas Cowboys 10 yards of field position as they have it up by 7.
Today's game is sponsored by Sprint. All football, no limits. Only from Sprint. By the Chevy Silverado HD, Motor Trend's 2011 Truck of the Year. And by Triple Hops Brewed Miller Lite. Taste greatness.
From the spot of the foul on that hold by Frank Walker, it moves the ball back to the 29-yard line. So a big penalty instead of starting at their own 48. Up by 7. They fake it to Felix Jones, and Tony Romo comes out of the pile, completes it to Phillips, but for a small gain of 2. Next Saturday, the ALCS will start right here on Fox. Where will it start? That we don't know. You saw Granderson of the Yankees. They lead 1-0. They'll play game 2 later today, and then the Rangers and the Tampa Bay Rays are tied at a game apiece. As that series will shift to Florida. That starts at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, only here on Fox. 2nd and 8.
Trouble, 54, 180. 20 shot. Kill. 54, 280. 27.
Delayed handoff, Felix Jones. And Felix will take it to midfield. Good blocking up front and a 19-yard run by number 28.
Well, you heard Tony Romo at the line say kill. That's because the coverage of the Lions, and they knew that they were in a position to run the football favorably based on the blockers and the number of people in the box defensively. And a nice job by tight end Jason Witten, but good movement along that offensive line, and quarterback Tony Romo getting them out of a pass play, knowing that they could run the ball more effectively than whatever they had called through the air.
85, 280.
On first down, Romo going to air it out down the middle. LaRon Robinson hitting stride. Down to the 6. 44 yards to the replacement of Miles Austin, LaRon Robinson.
Well, here's the safety here. Last time Cowboys ran the running play. This time it's off play action. He bites, and you've got no help over the top, one-on-one against Chris Houston. And a big play. We talked about it coming into this game. The Cowboys really, under Jason Garrett, while he's been calling the plays, has really been a big play offensive team. They base a lot of the things that they do on their ability to do that. That's been taken away a little bit because of the injuries, but they picked one up there.
Romo throws and completes for the touchdown. His second of the day, Des Bryant.
They've given Des Bryant a lot of one-on-one matchups here in this first half. He's already beaten Eric Wright once over the top. You know, Des Bryant is just such a physical receiver that, you know, they're going to give him a chance, and he's going to use his body and his hands, and he's able to haul it in.
Clearly into the end zone as he spun his body, and now Des Bryant, who came in with one touchdown on the year and a deep thigh bruise, has two here in the first half. Romo has started hot. 10 of 12, 128 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. This one set it up. LaRon Robinson, Cowboys happy to have him. They love Des Bryant. First round pick last year. He's got 2. And it's all smiles for Romo. Time to talk over on the bench for that secondary. They're getting picked apart by Tony Romo. Last week at the Vikings, the Lions came back down 20-0 at halftime. They're making it tough on themselves here again today. 14-0, and Logan is a yard deep in his end zone. And he is brought to the turf by Butler. So now the defense for the Cowboys enters the field, and they play these days for Rob Ryan.
How would I describe Coach Ryan?
A new age Santa Claus.
Vivacious.
I would always call him the white tiger.
He's got the hair flowing.
Sweet.
See that proud look like, ah.
He's a chick magnet.
Now you come to me, you come to me.
I envy him.
He's not the only one. And he can grow those flowing locks. I mean, he's got an act on the sideline, but he can coach football.
Well, he sure can. He keeps it interesting. You know, met him for the first time on Friday, and he had us laughing in the production meeting.
On first down, Stafford throws and completes. But a short gain to Pettigrew of only 2 yards. He stepped into our meeting room and he said, I don't know, man, I'm kind of scared to take on the Lions after reading what Troy Aikman said about them, like they're the Cowboys in the early 90s, but we're going to play anyway.
Yeah, and he also said, you know, there's a lot of defensive gurus out there, but none of them are as smart as I am. So those players, I'll tell you, they love playing for him. I mean, he obviously brings a great deal of bravado, and he supports these guys, and you know, that's part of coaching. He gets these guys on the field, and they want to lay it on the line for him each week.
Second down and 8. A stunt up front with Spencer, and here's the first catch of the day, Calvin Johnson. He draws a crowd, and Stafford fit it in, a gain of 15 yards.
A really pretty good route there by Calvin Johnson, too, and you've got to be pretty tough when you're coming over the middle, making a catch. And with the flag on this play, looks like this one might be coming back, but an excellent job of running the route, knowing you're going to get hit, making the catch.
Yeah, they called a hold on the play. I didn't see the flag, and it was picked up by John Perry. He made a quick announcement. As we're showing a replay, they drag everybody back down to the 15-yard line. It's a hold. And it's right there. It was Spencer who was coming on a stunt. Raiola guilty of a hold. Now trying to set up his screen. Javed Best was surrounded by 3 Cowboys. It's third down.
I know the Cowboys just sniff it out. I mean, that's one of the things that you see when you've got pass rushers like the Cowboys have, and you've got a team backed up. You know, they want to run draws and they want to run screens, and the Cowboys see it right away. Sean Lee's as good as there is at such a young age, at sniffing out those screens and playing them very well. And the Cowboys have had the Lions backed up throughout this ball game.
Now it's 3rd and 18. Here come the Cowboys. Here's another screen attempt for Best. And right on his back was Jay Ratliff. It's 4th down.
You know, the defensive front, what happens is they recognize when the offensive linemen are disengaging with them and wanting them then to pursue the quarterback. And they've gotten so good around the league, not just the Cowboys, but all of these defensive teams have gotten so much better at recognizing them. And as soon as that offensive lineman lets up, they're looking for the screen. They tried it twice on that series, didn't get anything.
It has been a rough homecoming so far for Stafford. 4 of 11 for just 22 yards. Donahue doesn't like his punt. Harris on the return. And a nice tackle is made by the man who made the play down on the goal line, Ashley Palmer. 6-yard return. Cowboys have it. Up 14-0.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Chevrolet Volt. It's more car than electric.
Cowboys, who lead at 14-0, their average starting field position is their own 44. And so far, for a guy with bad ribs, Tony Romo has been untouched.
Yeah, and you know, big part of it is because the way the game's been called by Jason Garrett. I mean, he has not been back in the pocket, really having to hold the ball so that he will get hit.
This one is bobbled and incomplete. Felix Jones, and there was nothing out there anyway. 2nd and 10.
You know, I think the Cowboys offensively have done a very nice job of just mixing it up. They've run the screens, they ran the reverse, they're getting the ball out of the hands of Tony Romo quick. They're mixing in the running game. They take the shot down the field and they get it to Robinson. You know, good balance between run and pass here in the early going, and that's what they knew they were going to have to do. And so instead of getting behind where that would have played into the advantage then of the Lions defensively, certainly, now they're playing with a lead, so now they can even be a little bit more cautious as to what they asked Romo to do from within the pocket with injured ribs.
They faked a handoff and throw it incomplete for Robinson as they tried a wide receiver screen that never got set up.
Well, the Lions here just have to make a stop. You know, I mean, they have struggled getting off the field here on 3rd down. Part of that has been because the Cowboys, as you mentioned, Joe, have had such great field position here in the first half, but defensively they got to make a stop here and can't give up any more points.
Hey, Thursday.
They're showing one-on-one again across the board on 3rd and 10.
Coming across early, and this is going to cost Detroit 5 yards.
Encroachment, number 99, defense, 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
So Corey Williams, who was traded to the Lions from Cleveland. So many deals made by Martin Mayhew, who came into his position as GM the same year that Jim Schwartz joined him from Tennessee. And this roster has been just about completely cleaned out from the Matt Millen era to try and start over, and they've got a lot of young talent.
I think after 0-16, it needed to be cleared out.
It's 3rd down and 5. Romo over the middle for Witten as he gets his first, and then gets crunched at the 30.
3rd downs, this is who Tony Romo's looking for. He's on the end of the line. He runs a square in here over the middle of the field, and you can see right there he's got a pretty good space in order for Romo to fit a ball in. But you know, Jim Schwartz, he knew coming in that one of the real keys to the game, one, was getting after Tony Romo. They haven't done that yet. Secondly, was that they were going to have to be able to control Jason Witten on 3rd down. Big 3rd down conversion there, and right now they're knocking on the door for at least another field goal attempt.
Now it's DeMarco Murray who gets the ball. And Murray is popped by Eric Wright. Murray, a rookie out of Oklahoma, 3rd round pick. No more Marion Barber. He's now with the Bears, been battling a calf problem, and Wright made a nice play off the edge.
You know, we kind of talked about it, Joe, coming into this game as far as the Cowboys defensively really not having seen an offense quite like what the Lions present, but I think it goes the other way as well. I don't think this Lions defense has seen an offense quite like the Cowboys present, and they're doing it shorthanded. You know, Miles Austin, one of their biggest playmakers, not on the field, and of course Dez banged up.
Now they roll Romo out to the right. Pass is caught by Murray, but he is banged out of bounds immediately by Houston. And it's a loss of 1. So another 3rd and long coming up for Dallas. And the Cowboys are inside field goal range halfway through the second quarter.
I heard Tony right there say to Dez, look at him, and that could be an eye contact deal, and he could change the route based on whatever coverage. They're showing they're going to give him help right now over the top to Eric Wright.
Romo over the middle, completes. That's Witten, but Jason Witten is short of a first down. And then Witten, who takes a pounding every game, is brought to the turf, a gain of 8. First guy there was Tulloch, and it'll be a field goal try for Dan Bailey, whose right foot won the game for the Dallas Cowboys last week over the Redskins. He was 6 for 6. 41-yard try. And he's become automatic. So good at Oklahoma State, was the nation's top kicker last year in place of the injured David Beeler, and he may last a while here in Dallas. 17-0 Cowboys. So it's 17-0, and the undefeated Lions wondering what's hit them here in Arlington, Texas. It's been a well-called game by Jason Garrett over on the Cowboys sideline, and now the Lions are about to get it back. Kind of a pop-up kick, and Logan will take it from just inside the 5. And Logan, with a full head of steam, is knocked down by Butler on the return. We welcome you inside the broadcast booth. And I understand there's a flag on that kick return. Meanwhile, we'll talk about Detroit and what they have to do to get back in this game and move the ball.
Well, this was a good start right here, assuming that the penalty's not going to be against them. They're going to get good field position, but what's hurt them, Joe, is they've had penalties and they've had negative play. So constantly they're facing
illegal formation
third and long.
On the kicking team. Number 34 left the 30-yard line prior to the kick. That'll be a 5-yard penalty from the end of the run.
They've been unable to convert those 3rd and longs, and so, you know, this is a team, Joe, that is averaging 33 points a game. They have not yet scored less than 26 in any of their 3 games this year. This would be a good time to get some of their first points of this game.
Penalty was on Philip Tanner, a rookie running back of the Cowboys, costing 5 yards, and so Detroit sets up at their own 38, down by 17. And out of the backfield, Best has it thrown at his ankles. We go to Kurt Menefee for a game break.
Well, Devin Hester had a 73-yard kickoff return stopped before he could get into the end zone. Very next time he touches the ball on the punt return, he takes it 69 yards, and this time all the way to the house. 11, punt return for a touchdown sets an NFL record, 24-17, Bears on top of the Panthers. Joe?
A lot of scoring in Chicago. Here is Calvin Johnson's first catch. He had one earlier that was wiped away by a penalty, and he is good for 12 yards and out to midfield.
Well, and the Lions now have gone no huddle after that first down incompletion. Stafford kept him at the line of scrimmage. He's doing that here. Try to change up the tempo a little bit, and really more than anything, try to get Stafford into a comfort level, because he has had some errant throws with some open receivers here in this first half.
Here come the Cowboys backpedaling. Stafford throws it at the feet of Nate Burleson, and that was Stafford feeling heat.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly, you know, what's happening, but Stafford clearly has just not been able to settle into this game, whether it's a homecoming for him and he's putting a little bit too much pressure on himself, but as we just saw in the last play as well, on the first one to Best, he's been short on a number of throws.
Now he sets up and throws and hits Calvin Johnson, who has Terrence Newman on his back, a gain of 6. and make it 3rd down and 4 coming up.
Well, now we'll see whether or not they're able to convert on a 3rd down. They've not been very good on this down here in the early going.
So far 1 for 5.
If you had a little more confidence in your defense based on what's happened, you might make this 4-down territory.
Stafford avoids a sack and then flips it for Best. And Javid Best is down to the 20 as Matthew Stafford makes a play. Victor Butler was coming with pressure, and here's what Stafford did with it as he shook the tackle of number 57.
He had it tucked. He was getting ready to run, and then he saw Best out there all by himself. That's best play of the game so far for the Lions.
24-yard play and a 1st down at the Dallas 20. Cowboys were looking for a timeout. They almost got an interception as a penalty flag flies. Here's the end of that play.
Yeah, you see that Matthew Stafford had it under his arm. He was fully prepared to not toss that away. But
holding, number 20, defense, 5-yard penalty, automatic 1st down.
You told me he played baseball. Maybe he was a basketball player too. It sure looked like it. Here's the play here on Allen Ball. You see Scheffler, he's trying to come out of the break, and a good call there by the official.
1st down at the 15. For the first time, the Lions, who are good in the red zone, are inside the Dallas 20. Here's one floated. Back of the end zone, a lot of contact, no flag as Scheffler ends up on the ground, covered by Allen Ball.
Yeah, and I think that's one that Stafford would like to have back as well. And he's talking to Scheffler as he came back. But if you're able to lay that one over the outside shoulder towards the back pylon, it's a lot of area there for Scheffler to be able to go grab that one. Instead, he just let him too far up the field.
Lions hurry up again, 2nd and 10. Late blitz. Victor Butler chases Stafford out of the pocket, and the pass incomplete.
Well, Jeff Backus, he's playing left tackle. He had nobody to block, and he was looking around for somebody. And then Victor Butler, you're going to see here, he hesitates for a minute at the snap of the ball, and Backus goes in to try to give some help, and then here comes Butler. So something that should have been picked up pretty easily, put the pressure then on Stafford.
It's 3rd down and 10. Stafford over the middle, and the pass is incomplete. Frank Walker with the coverage on Brandon Pettigrew.
Well, Pettigrew's pretty good at working the seam, and Walker's on the inside, and just good coverage, really. And then they got the 2 on Calvin Johnson, which is what you would expect. But, 3rd and 10 down there, it's difficult to convert those. And the Cowboys are able to hold them here to just a field goal.
Here's a guy in his 20th year with the Lions. One of the best this game has ever seen, Jason Hanson, who from 33 yards goes to 9 for 9 on the season. So Matthew Stafford got his team into the red zone. The drive stalled. Talked about where he went to high school. There's Clayton Kershaw, who he played sports with, all sports with, since he was a little kid. He's here watching his buddy, and these two played basketball together. They played a little soccer together. There's Kershaw. I think that's a goalie's jersey. Played baseball together. And how about the irony here that Kershaw in the middle holding up the trophy, who now pitches for the LA Dodgers and should be the NL Cy Young Award winner. Talk about two guys with great arms, and Kershaw, 21-game winner, an ERA of 2.28, and he is here to watch his buddy play for the Lions today.
So pretty good 1-2 staff there in baseball, huh? With the arms that those two guys have, that's impressive. That two guys that talented growing up on the same team for all those years.
And Kershaw is one of the real good guys in professional sports. Very community oriented, playing for the bankrupt Dodgers, and they're wondering what the future is for that organization, but they know they've got a young 23-year-old left-hander who had that ERA of 2.28 and struck out 248 batters. He was one of the few bright spots for Don Mattingly's team in 2011. Now the Cowboys will get it back as they lead by 14. Wayne Harris from the end zone. Nice head of steam. And Harris is out across the 25. This November, Fox Sports steps into the octagon with an epic heavyweight title fight as the #1 ranked contender in the world. Junior Dos Santos squares off with undefeated world champion Cain Velasquez. The must-see live event you can only catch on Fox. Dos Santos Velasquez for the UFC Heavyweight Championship of the World, Saturday, November 12th, right here. To go in the half. Each team with all 3 timeouts. Felix Jones, who's been playing with a separated shoulder that he suffered at the 49ers in week 2, he's carried it 8 times for 29 yards. Picked up a yard in that last carry.
Whereas Matthew Stafford has not really been able to get into any type of rhythm or comfort zone here in this first half. Tony Romo, on the other hand, you know, he came out firing right away, and the Lions have been unable to disrupt him at all. I'm not even sure he's been hit yet today.
On 2nd and 9, Felix Jones nowhere to go. And a play that loses yardage, a loss of 5. First guy there was Houston. And maybe in an effort to get the ball out of the hands of Tony Romo a little quicker than they might because of the defensive front Detroit has. Only a couple times have they gone downfield. When they've done it with success.
I think they've been smart about the way that they've handled it, and now here looking at 3rd and 14, it's a big down for Detroit. I mean, if they're able to force a 3 and out, something they really haven't been able to do here in the early going, that would be a nice stop, giving the ball back to their offense with plenty of time to try to come away with more points before the end of this first half.
Fake the handoff. Romo over the middle, hits Choice, and he is dragged down from behind. Averill made the play. A gain of 9, and it is a 3 and out. Good work by Detroit as they will take their first time out. So 2:29 left. And Jim Schwartz is in his 3rd year so far, 11 and 24. He told us, and I think most people, Troy, agreed with him, that even when they had 2 wins last year before they went on that 4-game win streak to end the year, which started with a win over Green Bay, 7-3 win when his defense knocked out Aaron Rodgers in that game. He said, we knew we were better than a 2-win team, so we're not going to worry. We weren't worrying about it then, trying to judge ourselves by our record, and we're not going to get caught up in it now, even though we're 3-0.
Yeah, I think the approach was, hey, we're going to judge the performance. I know at the end of the day, this is a bottom line business. Did you win or did you lose? But we're going to judge the performance. So even after some losses, they could see the progress that was being made. Now that they're winning, they're not going to get so caught up in the fact that they're winning that they're overlooking some areas where they can still obviously improve their play.
First punt of the day by McBriar, who hits a beauty. Wow. Logan will let it go over his head, and it will end up in the end zone, right into the corner. 68-yard punt, but only 48 net, and the Lions will start at their 20.
Yeah, they'll start here with plenty of time to see what they're able to get done, you know, here before the end of this first half. I think that game last week at Minnesota was a great win. We talk about Dominic Raiola saying it was the biggest win of his career. You know, Schwartz is hoping there's a lot bigger to come. But having said that, a place where they hadn't won in 13 trips, to be down the way that they were and to come back and win, I think will help them just 1 week later in this game as they go in at halftime, regardless of whatever may or may not happen here on this possession.
Stafford throws and completes. Calvin Johnson made the play as he was working on Terrence Newman, a gain of 20.
And Matthew Stafford picking himself up off the turf after he let this one go down. And you talked about it, Joe. You see him go down on that right shoulder, and I think that's just a huge concern because of the injury to the shoulder in previous years.
2-minute warning in Arlington, Texas. Lions down 14, hoping to get on the move.
Today's game is sponsored by AT&T. Get it faster with 4G. Rethink possible.
1st and 10 for Detroit at their own 40, down by 14. 2 timeouts remaining for the Lions. No sacks, but he's been hit 7 times, Stafford. Stafford, a little shoulder fake, and now rolling out to his right. He throws it away. Got it back to the line of scrimmage at 2nd and 10. Pettigrew, the closest one to it. Coming up, piece of halftime report. Kurt Terry, Howie, Michael, and Jimmy. Buffalo eyeing perfection. Then it's Cam Newton against the Bears in an early game. 24-20 Chicago in that game against Carolina. Buffalo playing at Cincinnati with their 3-0 record. A blitz from Sensabaugh. He goes down, and now Stafford in the arms of Sean Lee gets rid of it. 3rd and 10.
Matthew Stafford, he's wanting to, you're going to see Alan Ball right there, and that's where he's wanting to go with the football. There's going to be a curl route right in front of that, and he just didn't like the relationship there with the receiver and the safety. Afraid that if he cuts that one loose, it wasn't going to get there in time before Ball undercuts it for the interception. At that time, protection had broken down.
3rd down and 10. Cowboys come with a blitz. Stafford throws. Pass is complete to Pettigrew, but he's not going anywhere in the arms of Abram Elam. DeMarcus Ware over to help, a gain of 4, and that brings up 4th down.
Well, the offense just has not been able to get anything going here in the first 30 minutes of this ball game. And what looked like an opportunity based on the defense forcing the Cowboys into a 3-and-out. Giving the ball to the offense. Can they come away with some type of points before the end of the half? Doesn't happen, and now they're giving it back to the Cowboys with a chance to extend their lead.
Dallas takes a timeout. We ask you to join the NFL's A Crucial Catch campaign in the fight against breast cancer. Visit NFL.com/auction to bid now on authentic game-worn NFL pink products. All proceeds benefit the American Cancer Society. And so you'll see pink gloves and pink wristbands and pink socks and shoes this month across the NFL. Good punt by Donahue. Harris lets it go over his head, and it will end up in the end zone as Stovall couldn't get there. So with 1:28 left and 2 timeouts, we'll see how aggressive the Cowboys want to get, leading by 14.
Well, again, to kind of reiterate the point, defensively for the Lions, who had been pretty good, really good through the first 3 weeks, and came into this game 6th in the NFL in terms of yards given up, at about 300 yards a game, are going to give up over 200 yards to the Cowboys offense here just in the first half.
Kyle Vanden Bosch. Those reddish orange contact lenses. He's relentless enough. Handoff is to Felix Jones, and Jones picks up 6. Delmas on the tackle. Talk about those contact lenses in the eyes of Vanden Bosch. Show them to you after this 2nd and 4 play. Now a screen right side for Felix Jones, trying to get a first down, and he has it. The Cowboys will take their second timeout with 55 seconds remaining. And you know, Troy, that Vanden Bosch is relentless, and then you look inside his eyes and you're looking at that.
Yeah,
that's not doctored up. That's what he's wearing. It's from the Thriller collection, I guess.
Kyle Vanden Bosch is he's been such an asset for this Detroit defense, and really a great player. And in fact, he plays so hard. Jim Schwartz was saying there's not a player in the history of the NFL who's played harder than Kyle Vanden Bosch, to where they really have to go out of their way to try to limit his work during the week. Of course, he came off neck surgery from last season when he missed 5 games, but he's a guy, he's a rare breed. I mean, he doesn't want to miss any practice time, and they just want to extend his plays on Sundays and really extend his years. They got to try to limit it.
Quick throw, and LaRon Robinson stretches out and makes the catch. And Tony Romo is finding a new favorite target, number 81.
Yeah, I mean, the Lions just they haven't challenged a receiver yet in this ball game. And that slant route has been there all day.
Romo finds Witten. And Levy forces him out after Witten gets 10 yards, and it appears to be, and it is, enough for another first down. 31 seconds left. What does a receiver tell you when he's willing to stretch out across the middle for a catch?
Well, it gives you confidence to keep coming back to him. But as you see, LaRon Robinson, he's not touched. I mean, nobody is banging him at the line of scrimmage. Nobody's rerouting him, and so you're not that open when you're throwing those routes in practice against nobody. I mean, it's been easy pickings for Tony Romo here against a defense that I thought coming in was a lot better than what I've seen today.
They fake the handoff. Romo finds Choice. Shard is to the 31. Clock will continue to wind. They'll keep it in their pocket for the field goal unit as Romo will make it 3rd and 1.
Well, right now with the one timeout in their pocket in 3rd and 1, I would expect the Cowboys, I think they feel pretty good right now with where they're at on the field to be able to get the 3 points. 3rd and 1, I would expect Jason Garrett to call something to where they can get the ball down the field, into the end zone.
They've shown a willingness to move the pocket, roll Romo. Instead, they hand to Choice. They get the first down, and Choice now inside the 20. Timeout taken by Dallas. They're going to let it go down, and we'll have a field goal to end the first down. A field goal attempt as Choice got 14.
Yeah, they just decided that rather than take a shot down the field, hey, let's just try to make it a little bit more manageable field goal attempt and get the 3 points that we gave up on there in the first half when they went forward on 4th down and came away with nothing.
This is to make it 20-3, and Jason Garrett has to go into the locker room thrilled with his young offensive line, the job they've done up front. He should be proud of the game he's called to this point, as Tony Romo has not needed that extra protection around his ribs yet. 35-yard try. After that 14-yard play, so a 35-yard try. For a guy that's becoming automatic, we'll see if he can stay hot. He doesn't miss, and it's 20-3. There have been 2 touchdowns in this game, and both have been to number 88. This one lofted up for Des Bryant, who went up to get it over Chris Houston, then one a little tighter contested, but still up. A leap, a catch, and a spin into the end zone for his 2nd touchdown of the day. And so each side will make their way through the bar area, Cowboys Stadium, into the dressing room, and the Cowboys, who have won 2 straight, trying to hand the Lions their first defeat of the season. So So it is 20-3 at the half. They will have a celebration here at halftime for Breast Cancer Awareness Month across the NFL. Stafford had a rough first half, both throwing it and taking hits, as he makes his homecoming back to the Dallas area. And it's been all Cowboys so far. And that's kind of how the first half has gone. One guy is exhaling, one guy on the other sideline firing that fist in the air. Heck, two guys are. 20-3 at the half. Piece of halftime coming up after this.
They waiting on the store. $1 billion stadium. They don't want it. Sunday afternoon. We work too damn hard. It's time to eat. I'll eat it right now. We playing football. It's a big one. Let's go.
Yes, they have been playing football, and at the half, it's 20-3, Dallas on top. You can follow your favorite team all season long. Go to iTunes.com/NFL. Glad you're with us. Off we go to start the second half, and the Lions are going to have to figure something out here quick defensively. They trailed 20-0 at the half last week at the Vikings.
They got some figuring out to do on offense, too.
Yeah. And Hansen takes a nosedive after kicking that one off, and this one is returned by Lissimore, who can run with it. How about that return by Sean Lissimore? First Hansen took a nosedive, and now Lissimore with his teammates on the sideline after a 38-yard return, getting congratulations.
Well, with all the problems offensively and defensively for the Lions, the special teams felt left out. So here they start the second half, giving up a big return to Sean Lissimore. Not to be confused with Devin Hester.
No, but he looked like he knew what to do with it.
He sure did.
Quick throw, Romo completes, and there he is again, LaRon Robinson, and in a blink, they're at the Detroit 30. Let's go down to Pam Oliver.
Well, Joe, the Lions trudged off the field looking very much like a defeated team. I tried to talk to Jim Schwartz about the developments in the first half, but he was not in the mood, said he'd get me next time. But Jason Garrett, obviously in a much better mood. He said, we got to finish this thing. We got to put the nail in the coffin. Back to you.
Well, thank you, Pam. One thing that sets that up is the 38-yard return by Lissimore, and now Ron Robinson is over 100 yards receiving for the second time in his career. As Felix Jones spins forward and picks up two. Carpenter on the tackle for Detroit.
Well, I know coming into this game, Jim Schwartz was not happy with some of the play within the special teams, and no telling what all was said there at halftime. I know going back to last week, they said everybody handled everything well and said that they were confident they were going to come back out and play well in the second half. I've learned over the years that, yeah, everybody feels that when they come back and win the game. But they've got their work cut out for them here in this one, and then to already have the Cowboys to start this second half in field goal position, not good.
Romo throws, and there's LaRon Robinson again. Another first down. He's working on Chris Houston, who has had a bad day.
You're going to see in Ndamukong Suh, we haven't said much about him or any of these defensive linemen. The offensive line for the Cowboys has done a nice job. And again, it goes back to the game that Jason Garrett has called here today, because the ball has come out of his hands, and for that to happen, these receivers have to do a good job of getting open, and they've done that as well.
Back to the ground, back to Felix Jones, who dives inside the 15. And there's really no other way to say it or sugarcoat it. To this point, the Dallas offense has pretty much been able to do what they want against the Detroit defense, which came in ranked number 6 in the NFL. Martellus Bennett is slow to get up. We'll take a break. As he makes his way off the field, Dallas is closing in on more points.
Today's game is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. By Ram Trucks. Guts, glory, Ram. By Pizza Hut. Your favorite plays deserve your favorite pizza. Your favorites, your Pizza Hut. And by Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Here we go.
Welcome back to Arlington, Texas. So far, one of the most disruptive defensive players in the NFL, certainly through the first 3 weeks. Last year as a rookie hasn't been disruptive at all.
No, I think this offensive line for the Cowboys has been outstanding.
We'll talk more about them with Choice in the backfield. Interesting play. That's Ogletree. And Ogletree is out of bounds just before getting into the end zone, forced out by Delmas. Ogletree was coming on a little reverse, and then he reversed.
Yeah, they run the play where they fake the slant, then run the reverse to Ogletree, only this time they had a little play action pass off of it to where they fake the slant. He comes in motion, but instead of running the reverse, he stops, and then he's able to lose his defender. The defender immediately is trying to go over the top in order to be there on the reverse, and when Ogletree comes back, he's wide open then and almost got that into the end zone for a touchdown.
And now Jason Garrett throws the challenge flag, saying that Ogletree got in.
By Dallas. First and goal versus a score. We'll review the play.
Here's another look. We'll get the call when we come back. Jason Garrett is challenging that was a touchdown. Mike Pereira is our rules expert back in Los Angeles. And Mike, what do you think? Is this call going to stand?
I think the call stands because he's going from inbounds to out of bounds. Watch the left foot. It goes out of bounds. Ball doesn't cross the goal line.
After reviewing the
to
play,
me, that stands.
Since the runner did not land a foot inbounds in the end zone, the play stands as called. Dallas will be charged their first team timeout.
So Mike Pereira is 1 for 1 with us today, and that was the 9th different receiver that Tony Romo found as he got it to Ogletree.
Had he have had the ball in his left arm, however, even though his foot did go out of bounds, if he was carrying this in his left arm and was able to extend it inside the orange pylon, that then would have been a touchdown. But good job by him not having it in his left arm, because then it would have been exposed to the defense.
Wide open back of the end zone, Witten, and they make it look easy all day. His first touchdown of the season.
Well, we talked about the attention that Jason Witten should garner. And you're going to see him get off the line. Nobody touches him. Cliff Averill doesn't jam him. There's not a linebacker there over the top of him to jam him. You know, down there, it is very tough because you're playing run, and it's hard to play the run and then still be in a position off play action pass. But the one thing I would think every team would do down there is jam up Jason Witten and keep him from getting off the ball. Make somebody else beat you.
Martellus Bennett is down again. And it looks like they're looking up high on Bennett, who got poked in the eye or something up through the face mask. So he is able to get up, but yeah, I mean, you're down at the goal line and nobody touches Jason Witten going into the back of the end zone, who is clearly Romo's most trusted guy that he has left is healthy.
Well, and even beyond just the goal line play there, Cowboys have had their way with this Lions defense throughout this game. I mean, the Lions, other than the one, 3-and-out series that they had there in the first half, they've done nothing to slow down this offense. And what's impressive about that for the Cowboys is, they've got a number of guys banged up, not playing really at 100%, and they're with one of their top playmakers in Miles Austin.
Cowboys have scored on 5 of their 7 possessions. Romo 3 touchdown passes on the day. His team is up by 24.
Today's game is sponsored by Verizon. Get coverage of every NFL game on NFL Mobile. Call ** NFL from your Verizon phone to get NFL Mobile.
Beautiful day outside. We are under the roof here at Cowboys Stadium. Another drive that Romo had his way with the Lions defensively. 4 for 4 was Romo on that drive. As we showed you, 20th time Romo has had 3 or more touchdown passes in a game. As Bailey knocks it out of the back of the end zone. And we We talked about Chris Houston, who's had a long day trying to cover guys like LeRon Robinson and others, and that secondary has been the common look with palms up to the sky like, what are we doing?
Yeah, and obviously they're very frustrated, and we talked about it coming into the game that really if the Lions were going to have a chance to win this game, you know, we were going to have to be talking a lot about guys like Kyle Vanden Bosch and Ndamukong Suh and Cliff Averill and those guys up front, and instead we've not been. Instead it's been more about what the Cowboys have been doing with their offensive line, and you know, that's been the huge difference in this ball game.
Late handoff to Best, who picks up 2. I mean, if you think about the Lions, they've done a good job, with the exception of last week, protecting Matthew Stafford. No sacks the first 2 games, 5 last week. He got knocked around. He's had the bad shoulder, ended last year in IR. Now you're down by 24 points against a Rob Ryan defense. You like to send the tight end out in pass patterns. You better protect Stafford, because you know Rob Ryan's going to come after him. 2nd and 8. Quick throw, and it's Burleson who makes a move on Sensabaugh and gets a first down across the 30.
Yeah, I think if you look at the way this game unfolded up to this point, Joe, they had some opportunities early. Matthew Stafford, you know, on that first possession, they were driving the ball pretty well, and errant throw gets intercepted by Sensabaugh, and he has missed some guys. And so when he's trying to settle in, the defense was never able to hold them defensively to allow the Lions to kind of settle in on their side of the ball, and that's why the score is what it is.
See, Sensabaugh is down because of a hit he took from his teammate Anthony Spencer. Got it up high in the back of the left shoulder. So Stafford buying a suite here at the stadium and trying to treat his family and friends to a display like the first 3 weeks. That has not unfolded in front of these fans or anybody watching, as so far the offense has yet to get any traction. Only 3 points on the board. And according to Rob Ryan, his defense should just get better and better. They put in that new system. They didn't have the offseason program, and he thinks that his defense is just starting to get into a rhythm to the point where they can really do a lot more things to confuse offenses the rest of the season.
Yeah, and he doesn't pull any punches either. I mean, when you consider the different stops that he's had over the years as defensive coordinator in Oakland, he was in Cleveland, and you know, this is as talented a group as he has had, and he's excited knowing that, yeah, they're only going to get better. He didn't have the off season to implement the defense. He's still getting to know a lot of these guys, but he knows he's got a pretty talented group to work with this year in Dallas.
He's got 3 more guys that can play safety. Danny McCray, Barry Church, and Alan Ball has played back there. As Sensabaugh is able to pop up. And we'll get off the field. Sensabaugh, with his first interception of the year, came on the opening possession of this game by the Lions. Sensabaugh came here to the Cowboys in '09 from Jacksonville. Makes his way off the field, and now Barry Church, number 42, comes in to replace him. First down for the Lions at their own 31, down by 24. Javid Best bounces it to the edge, gets a hit as he crossed the 35. Barry Church, just into the game, made the hit. You can get coverage of every NFL game on NFL Mobile. Call ** NFL to get NFL action right on your phone. 2nd and 5. Stafford nowhere to go, and he just gets rid of it. And even though he was out of the pocket, that ball did not get back to the line of scrimmage, but no flag is thrown. 3rd down and 5.
I just think we're seeing Matthew Stafford move around within the pocket a little bit more probably than what he needs to. He's working the left side of the field. He could have gotten it to the young rookie receiver Titus Young. And even though it wouldn't have been a first down, it would have been positive yardage.
Now Jerome Harris into the backfield. On 3rd down and 5. Stafford over the middle, broken up by Jenkins, trying to get it to Calvin Johnson.
That was good coverage by Mike Jenkins. He's going to come up, as you see. He does get a little bit of a contact there on Calvin Johnson, but he had help over the top, and so he was able to play the route underneath and just try to shadow Calvin Johnson as best he could, and he did a nice job. And really nowhere for Stafford to try to fit that throw.
This is the 5th punt of the rookie Donahue. And it's a good one. Driving Harris out of bounds. And so with 10.5 to go in the 3rd quarter, the Dallas Cowboys will get it at their own 27, up by 24. It has been a big day for the home team here in Arlington. The offensive line now talking it over group by group. They've gone over to that sideline and trying to figure out what's happened here for a team that came flying in 3-0. And in every phase of the game, they have been thoroughly knocked down by the Dallas Cowboys, who lead by 24 points.
180!
They fake the run. Romo throws, and he's picked off by Bobby Carpenter. And Carpenter makes a move down the sideline, still going. The former Dallas Cowboy, Bobby Carpenter, is a fumble into the end zone, and it's recovered for a touchdown by Eric Wright. There are no flags, and Bobby Carpenter just made a play against his former team.
Well, he sure did, and that's what the Lions needed. They needed a quick score and something to happen defensively and keep Dallas from coming away with points. Bobby Carpenter right here, you're going to see, he reads this the entire way. He reads play action. He drops underneath that curl flat area, and Tony Romo just either didn't see him or he thought that he could lay something over his head. But you know, that's the guy, that's the only guy when you're the quarterback that you've got to be able to see, knowing that he's the one who can take that throw away. Romo doesn't see him, and boy, Bobby Carpenter comes up big when they needed it.
1st round pick in 06. Getting a chance to start with Justin Durant out with concussion issues, and Carpenter just turned it into, depending on Hansen, 7 points. Eric Wright recovered as Carpenter lost it right at the goal line.
We're going to see Bobby Carpenter work into the screen right there. He doesn't know exactly where the receiver is. He's just working to that general area to try to take away the curl route or any comeback route thrown to the outside. He gets under it perfectly, and you know, good job after the catch of getting it in the end zone. Now they get away with the fumble and still being able to recover it for a touchdown, but boy, a nice play for a guy making his first start here this year for the Lions.
Right now they're giving the touchdown to Carpenter, but they are discussing who gets it, Carpenter or Eric Wright. Either way, the Lions get it, and they're down by 17.
Well, and Bobby Carpenter, going back to his time here with the Dallas Cowboys, him and Tony Romo are very close friends. Tony Romo got married this past offseason, and Bobby Carpenter was in the wedding. And so this is one that Tony doesn't like throwing that interception. He especially doesn't like throwing it to his good friend. You can bet Bobby Carpenter's not going to let him forget that one anytime soon.
So now it's a 17-point game, and remember, the Lions, a team that came back from down 20 at the half last week at the Vikings.
Well, and that's the type of play that you need, just something to give your team a spark, and maybe that little momentum shift there and getting the touchdown will inspire this defense to make some more key stops.
Harris will take it out. This is a Detroit coverage unit that struggled all year. It's a 25-yard return. And while this was going on the Detroit sideline, Tony Romo gets a shot from Jackson on that return, and then he goes over to talk to Jason Garrett. That might be the only time Tony Romo's been hit.
It hasn't been much.
Now Eric Coleman is down. Backup safety for the Lions. They look at him. 10:03 left. Cowboys have it again. Up 17. Eric Coleman limped off the field, and so he gets attention on the bench while the Cowboys start up by 17 at their 21. A handoff to Tashard Choice, who's out to the 28. We've got some injuries to show you. First of all, Eric Coleman is 24, and he was injured on that hit right there by his teammate down low, and then Bobby Carpenter on the return. You see Felix Jones slam down into the turf, the top running back for the Cowboys, playing with a separated right shoulder, wearing a harness on that shoulder, and that arm is hanging.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. He re-injured going to the ground.
Here is Choice, and a couple of good runs by Choice. A first down for Dallas. A game break. Here's Kurt Menefee.
Well, like the Lions, the Bills came into the day 3-0. They're at Cincinnati, and a tighter game going on there. Andy Dalton, nice one-handed catch by Jermaine Gresham. Pulls the Bengals to within 4, 17-13. That one late in the third. Joe Troy pass.
Okay, Kurt, so 2 runs, and so far this defensive front for the Detroit Lions, which came in allowing 113 rushing yards per game. They have not been much of a challenge up front. Now Murray, the rookie. DeMarco pushes the pile. Nice gain of 4 as Llewellyn made the stop for the Lions.
Yeah, you talk about the Lions' run defense, and I mentioned it a little bit earlier. You know, the Lions' defensive front is really taught to just go after the quarterback. Don't concern yourself so much with the running game. It's obviously a passing league. We talk about that each and every week. Go after the quarterback, hit the quarterback, and play the run on your way to the quarterback. Because as Jim Schwartz explains it, when you do that, a lot of times you overrun some plays, and you also open up some cutback lanes that we've seen at times by Dallas being able to exploit.
Cowboys averaging 4.7 yards per rush. How about Robinson? How about that catch? As he has enough for a Dallas first down.
This guy's got some unbelievable hands. That's about the second or third catch like that we've seen. A ball away when he's leaning on a defender to the inside, and to be able to separate, extend, and catch the ball like he just did, that's impressive. I've liked what I've seen of this young man. Going back to last week, what he was able to do in that game against the Redskins, and then again here this afternoon.
Got up limping and holding that right knee. He's at a career-high 116 receiving yards in the game. The handoff is to Murray. And he makes a move inside the hole and picks up 7. So DeMarco Murray, who came in with 10 carries, 27 yards in his rookie season, gets 7 yards as they try to fill in for Felix Jones.
Well, the challenge for Dallas coming into this game was the offensive line, and they have met the challenge, whether it's in pass protection or running the football. And you know, these young players, 2 rookies, a second-year player at center, and they've dominated what is an awfully good defensive front in every facet of this game.
6.5 to go, third quarter, and the handoff is to Murray, who spins for 1. No sacks allowed by the group up front for the Dallas Cowboys, and they're closing in on 100 yards rushing on the day.
Yeah, and Hudson Houck, he's the offensive line coach. He was the line coach here for a number of years, and then he bounced around a little bit, and Jason Garrett brought him back to coach these young players up front, and he's done a nice job.
Now 3rd down and 2. shotgun pass is intercepted. Houston. And now he's got room to run. Down the sideline, and Houston has just turned in another defensive score. And in a blink, a team that was down by 24 points can turn this into a 10-point game.
Well, we talked about them not getting very aggressive with the receivers. Chris Houston does this time. He anticipates the slant route by Robinson. Robinson unable to cross his face. He's trying, but Houston plays that beautifully and gets in front of Robinson and then makes a heck of a catch on that and a great return for the touchdown. You know, we've seen the Cowboys throwing that slant now a number of times in this game, but Chris Houston finally challenged the receiver, got in front of him, didn't let Robinson cross his face, and he comes away with the interception. You're right. The only way the Lions get back into this game the way they have is to have happen what just happened on 2 interceptions, both returned now for touchdowns on consecutive possessions.
They're going to take a look at the scoring play to make sure that Houston stayed in bounds, but this is a game now. Let's take a look at his trip down the sideline and see if he stayed in. He's in the entire way. So the Lions, with this defense, they came in 3rd ranked in the NFL, allowing the opponent's passer just a 69.1 rating. Top mark for a defense in the NFC. Behind the Jets and Tennessee across the NFL, and Tony Romo has thrown 2 interceptions. First career interception for Bobby Carpenter, which was followed by his first career touchdown. And now Chris Houston gets his first score. The last 3 Tony Romo passes, 2 of them have gone for what they call now a pick 6, an interception, and 6 points on the other end.
Yeah, there's no doubt he's in bounds the entire way. Tony Romo, we saw him there on the sidelines. He's asking himself, what in the heck is going on? And what you've got to do if you're Detroit, when you're down like that, it's easy to play the game for the Cowboys when you're holding that kind of lead. And now all of a sudden this touchdown stands, they get the extra point, cut it to a 10-point game. It puts pressure back on this Cowboys offense, particularly Tony Romo. Those are bad things that are happening to him right now, and he's going to be a little hesitant pulling the trigger.
The play has been confirmed. It is a score.
So the extra point to make it a 10-point game here in Arlington, Texas, and the Detroit Lions, because of their defense, has climbed right back in it.
And I will tell you, on that slant route, from a quarterback's perspective, it's not a throw you ever are making thinking it's going to be intercepted like that. You're thinking at worst, if a guy does cut in front of the receiver, it's going to be an incompletion. It was a heck of a play by Chris Houston.
And that's Chris Houston, who we saw earlier frustrated on the bench. Palms up. I'm giving you my best. Well, he went 56 yards on the interception return for the touchdown. It's a 10-point game. If you stepped away for a moment thinking that this game was in the bag, it has changed in a blink because of 2 defensive scores, one by Bobby Carpenter, the latest, 56 yards on an interception return by Chris Houston. And with 5.5 to go in the 3rd quarter, it's a 10-point game with Dwayne Harris waiting for the kick from Jason Hanson, who starts inside the 20. Run out of breath before you get to the ball. So last week was the largest comeback in team history, and they've trailed by as many as 24 here today. And this drive will start at the 20. Well, this can be a crazy game as we welcome you inside our broadcast booth, and it was the defense for Detroit. It's gotten them back in the game, and now they're right back on the field. As you said, and I agree with you, there's pressure now on Dallas to not let this thing get any closer.
Well, there's pressure on Tony Romo because right now he's got some negative thoughts, you know, after the last 2 throws that have been intercepted for touchdowns, as to, okay, am I going to try to fit a tight throw in again, or, you know, how exactly am I going to play this? But yeah, 10-point game now with plenty of time. You got to believe the Detroit Lions certainly defensively they feel great. I didn't even think this has been a huge spark for the offense.
See if that front for Detroit gets charged up here on this possession, and this is going to be 5 easy yards for the Dallas offense.
Offside, defense, number 99, 5-yard penalty, first down.
You could hear Corey Williams saying that there was movement on the Dallas offensive line. The officials weren't buying it. Matthew Stafford hasn't had to do anything in this second half, and his team is down by 10.
No, I think Scott Linehan's telling them, hey, if we sit here a little longer, maybe we'll make this a 3-point game.
Now 1st and 5. Back in the game is Felix Jones. Bobby Carpenter made the stop. A gain of 1, 2nd and 4 coming up. 5 minutes to go, 3rd quarter, and the 3-0 Lions, who haven't started 4-0 since 1980, are seemingly out of this game, and now they're right back in it. Off to Felix Jones. If he's got a bad shoulder, it doesn't show. He carries the pile for 6 and a first down.
You know, it's really nice by Felix Jones because of the speed that he possesses and his big play ability. A lot of times he gets regarded as strictly a perimeter runner, and he's obviously more than that, as we just saw. There was contact made, you know, right about the line of scrimmage, but yet he was able to keep his legs going and pick up that first down virtually on his own.
Somebody up front for this Lions defense has to make a play.
Yellow lady! Yellow lady! Hey, kill! 180!
Romo to throw. Steps up and floats it for Des Bryant. Bryant with a catch. And they're saying he got both feet down. Let's take another look at the end of this play. As of now, 34 yards.
Now that's coming back. He was bobbling, and when he has possession there, he just gets his left foot down, and then before he's taken out, the Cowboys trying to get it snapped. They're not going to be able to.
Right, let's challenge the previous play of a completed catch versus incomplete. We'll review the play.
Yeah, you're right. That bobble costs him the completion.
Yeah, if he catches this clean right there, then he's going to be able to get both feet down. But instead, the left foot is the first foot down with possession before he's knocked out. I got to tell you, that was a good call there by Tony Romo at the line of scrimmage. You heard him say kill, kill. He called off the running play. The Lions were stacked up at the line of scrimmage, one-on-one on the outside. He knew that, and then he got Des Bryant to go with the double move against Eric Wright. They had everything. They just weren't able to make the execution and keep him in bounds.
So they show it on the screen here in Arlington at Cowboys Stadium, and if you've ever been here and seen the screen, you know that there's no better look at it in the world. And so this crowd can't even react. They know that Brian didn't get that second foot down, his right foot, so this one's coming back. Even Mike Pereira agrees with you back in Los Angeles.
Well, now I know I'm right,
as he watches on 3,000 monitors that Fox has provided for him. There is no more force out there used to be in this league. I see Mike Pereira getting high fives down there. He doesn't know I can watch him. And Jerry Jones rubbing his hands together, wondering what's happened to this 24-point lead.
Yeah, you can see Des Bryant there, probably disappointed in himself not being able to haul that one in, because, as I said,
After
perfect execution.
The receiver only got 1 foot down with possession. The ball was bobbled and play was forced out of bounds. It's an incomplete pass. Detroit is not charged with the timeout.
While the review was going on, he got into it with Delmas. Des Bryant. And then for good measure, Lawrence Jackson came over, and Jim Schwartz reacted with that reaction to Des Bryant.
What the heck's going on out there?
Thanks, Vince. 2nd and 10 with the ball back at the 32. Jim Schwartz is not a shy guy and is no shrinking violet. It's taken a lot to try and reverse course with this organization and change the mindset within that locker room. And he's done a tremendous job as he coaches here in his 3rd season. 2nd and 10 out of the shotgun. Romo over the middle, completes. That's Martellus Bennett. Brings up a 3rd down and short as Bennett got 7.
And see now here what happens on this 3rd down is to, whether or not the Lions are able to make a stop. The Cowboys, converting very well here in this ball game, over 50% up to this point. But if the Lions are able to make a big stop here and get the ball back to their offense and not give up any points on this drive, I think that's going to be pretty good stuff for them defensively, and then see what their offense is able to do after not having been on the field for a while.
Romo down the sideline. LaRon Robinson overthrown. Romo ends up on the ground, and with 3:02 left, and now a flag for the hit on Romo. This is big.
Personal foul. Roughing the passer. Number 90. Defense. Contact to the quarterback's head. 15-yard penalty. Automatic. 1st down.
Comes right at the end, and you see that he extends and he hits him with his left hand. Left arm and hand right there to the face mask, and you can't do it. Anytime you give a quarterback a shot to the helmet, they've got a referee that stands back there, and all he's looking at is the protection of that quarterback. And so anytime you get around him, it's going to be seen.
Ndamukong Suh, who's been a heavily fined player. The end of a week where Michael Vick complained about officials saying he takes more hits than other quarterbacks. Based on reputation, the style of play, Suh got that hand up. They're looking for him. They're looking for it. That is a big 15-yard penalty. So the Cowboys hang on to the ball, and now finds Witten, does Romo. How does he stay up? Down to the 9, Jason Witten.
A great pocket by the offensive line. Tony Romo's able to step up, and we talked about it a little bit earlier, the free release there by Jason Witten, but I think it had more to do with the vision that Tony Romo had off of the play action, no one in his face, and he was able to find Jason Witten pretty easily in that seam.
John Wendling hit Witten with a ball in the air. There was a bobble. And you can obviously circle that penalty called against Ndamukong Suh as something that could be crushing to the Lions' comeback effort, as Choice carries it forward for 2 yards.
We'll go back and take a look at that last throw to Witten, and the pass rushers go to the outside, and the pocket then that Romo has to step up. It buys him some time to let Witten get down the field, and not bad coverage overall. I mean, they didn't jam him at the line of scrimmage. Still a ball that had to be fitted in. Good concentration by Witten, even after the bobble of being able to secure it.
37-yard completion. Now it's 2nd and goal. With the ball at the 7. I formation. They fake it to Jones, and now Phillips, who started the play as the fullback, is dragged down by Tulloch at the 5. 3rd and goal.
That's one of the things about this linebacking core is they do run pretty good, particularly Stephen Tulloch. So you try to outflank him there on the outside, and Tulloch with his speed is able to get there for minimal gain.
Stafford's going to have to get loose again. Under a minute to go in the quarter. 3rd down and goal. looking left. Ogletree is out of bounds. Coverage on the play by Eric Wright, and Ogletree could not get the catch secured before he headed out of bounds. And a field goal attempt is coming up.
Yeah, he just lost sight of really where the sideline was, and I think had he have been able to keep his feet in bounds, he probably wouldn't have been able to reach out to make that catch. But even after giving up the roughing the passer penalty to extend this drive, not bad there defensively by the Lions, at least forcing the Cowboys here into 3 points.
Still a 2-score game at 30-17. That's 3 points as a result of this penalty. Hands getting up into the face from Ndamukong Suh. Up high enough in the NFL here in 2011 to get that call as Romo went down. In this third quarter, the offense for the Lions has run 5 plays. Gained 16 yards, 1 first down, yet because of 2 defensive scores, they're within 13 points, and Suh kicks over the trash can with 37 seconds left in the third quarter. Romo, meanwhile, has thrown 2 interceptions for touchdowns. Taking the ball down the field for 1 touchdown drive, and the latest a field goal of 23 yards from Dan Bailey. Bottom line, a big part of it. 75 yards, though, in a drive that ate up 5 minutes. And now Stephon Logan will wait for the kick from Bailey. Logan will watch it sail over his head. Certainly Ndamukong Suh knows exactly what that penalty cost his team. Guy who played soccer in high school.
I can tell.
With a kick. I mean, he's when you were standing next to him on the field prior to the game, I mean, he is normally you see a defensive tackle. You sometimes are bigger guys, sloppier guys. This guy just looks like an athlete.
I asked Jim Schwartz how much better can he get. He said, well, physically he can't get any better. I mean, that's as good as it gets right there.
At a 35.5-inch vertical leap. Ran the 40 at 4.98 at the combine. Here is Pettigrew. Wide open down the middle of the field, and a good start to this drive. 22 yards to the big tight end, Brandon Pettigrew.
Yeah, Victor Butler, he just turns him completely loose. A breakdown in coverage. We've seen that a few times now from the Cowboys. The Lions just have failed to take advantage of it until that last reception by Pettigrew.
And the Lions moved it best. They did it this way with a hurry-up offense as Best carries it up the middle for 2, and that's how the quarter will end. It's a 13-point game in Texas. Back after this from your local Fox station. Matthew Stafford, who was off the field for 35 minutes. A completion to Pettigrew, then a short run by Best. Now it's 2nd and 8 as we start the fourth quarter, and the pass complete. That is the rookie Titus Young. A first down inside Dallas territory. Cowboys, who led 27-3 with just over 10 minutes left in the third quarter. The 2 interception returns for touchdowns cut it to 10 with 4.5 minutes left. The field goal makes it a 13-point game here in the last quarter of play.
Well, the Cowboys have at times here. They've singled up Calvin Johnson. They've given looks like they're going to double. They've dropped the safety in. Matt hadn't yet seen that, though.
Over the middle, Titus Young making moves, and now looking for a block from Calvin Johnson. He shoves the helmet of Barry Church off his head. And it's an 18-yard catch and run.
I like this Titus Young too. You know, we were talking about LaRon Robinson for the Dallas Cowboys. Here's another young receiver who has had an opportunity this year, and he's done very, very well. And then, of course, Jeff Backus working pretty hard on DeMarcus Ware, who we haven't talked a lot about here this afternoon either. But Titus Young, you know, missing the offseason, no work, got hurt early in training camp. They're still kind of figuring out what he's all about. I can tell you, he's going to be a pretty special player.
On first down all day for Stafford, who goes to the end zone. Jump ball, touchdown. Megatron is in for the touchdown. Calvin Johnson.
That is unbelievable right there. Calvin Johnson comes off the ball. Matthew Stafford sees that he's not open, that there's two defenders down there covering him, and he just alley-ooped it. I mean, he just threw it up in the air saying, okay, I'm going to give my guy a chance. I talked to Matthew Stafford before the game on the field, and I asked him about this very thing, and he said he gets double covered so much that you have to sometimes just give him a chance, knowing that he has a size advantage, and that's exactly what just happened.
This to make it a 6-point game. The Lions did it last week to the Vikings, down 20-0 at the half. They have come roaring back here today. 2 defensive touchdowns, now 1 to Megatron to make it 30-24. Calvin Johnson and Stafford hook up again.
Today's game is sponsored by Corona Extra, who invites you to find your beach. By Burger King, where you can enjoy the flavor of soft serve in several delicious combinations. And by Universal Pictures, The Thing, in theaters October 14th.
They call Calvin Johnson Megatron because of his size and his speed. 6'5", 236. And he just went up to get that jump ball for his 7th receiving touchdown of the season. Pro Bowler last year with 12 touchdown catches. He's blow by that here in 2011. Stafford was 4 for 4 on that drive. Harris stays in the end zone.
Here's another look at that touchdown throw and reception. You know, as Calvin Johnson came off the ball, you know, it wasn't anything in particular. He's just running a seam route, but you see he's kind of positioning himself, and the big thing was Matthew Stafford was not getting any pressure in the pocket, so he was holding it, and then as soon as he sees that Calvin Johnson's in a position to make a play, he just throws it up. I mean, Randy Moss is the only other guy that I can think of that you would even attempt something like that. Michael Irvin used to ask me to do that all the time, but he wasn't quite as gifted as Calvin Johnson in being able to haul that one in.
Church playing for the injured Sensabaugh, out with a concussion. That's the word we're getting from the sideline. On first down, out of the backfield, Felix Jones. And now up front they make a play. Averill made the hit, and he was there with Houston, who has an interception return for a touchdown. It's 2nd and 9.
Well, it's pretty obvious watching this defense and the energy now that they're playing with and their ability really to pursue the football. You know, they've been outstanding here in this second half. Last week they made the key stops when they had to, and their offense then scored the points. This week, not only have they made the stops, but they more importantly have scored the touchdowns for them.
Second down and 9. Pretty good hole for Felix Jones. He crosses the 25. Gained 5 and a 3rd and short coming up.
Come back on Ndamukong Suh there in the middle, and this is what you get when you're the type of player that he is. You get, you know, 2 bodies banging on you, and they've got to control him, and for the most part the Cowboys have been able to do that.
Now 3rd down and 4. Enough time for Romo to change the play at the line if he wishes.
A one-on-one outside on Des Bryant again.
Romo floats it for Witten, and he and Witten not on the same page. And exactly what the Lions defensively needed, a 3-and-out with 12 minutes to play.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. You know, you don't see this very often between these two guys, Jason Witten and Tony Romo. They've been playing together for quite a while now, and you know, usually it's like clockwork, but Jason Witten clearly thinking that ball was going to be thrown up the seam. I think maybe Romo thought that with coverage he could hit the back shoulder, but a miscommunication and a great stop there defensively by the Lions.
McBriar hits a high hanging punt, and Logan with a fair catch at his own 33. Red eyes and all, little tap on the helmet for Romo. What a game this has turned into. Lions have it down 6. There's last week and this week, down 20-3 at the half today. They've returned 2 interceptions for touchdowns in the same game for the first time since 05. And down by 6. This should cost Dallas 5 yards.
Neutral zone infraction, number 93. Defense. 5-yard penalty. First down.
They get Anthony Spencer as we look ahead to next week, week 5 in the NFL. And here are the matchups. Seahawks and Giants, Eagles and Bills, which is obviously a very good game. Saints, Panthers, Cardinals, Vikes, Buccaneers, and 49ers starting with a Built Ford Tough. Fox NFL Sunday pregame show at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific.
Defense trying to get this crowd back into it. Matthew Stafford able to use the hard count on that last play, which drew the offsides. Now they have to go silent.
Stafford throws for Johnson, and he almost came down with that. He is double covered and covered well, and yet somehow you still expect him to make the catch.
Well, you do, and Mike Jenkins, who's really just hoping and praying that he doesn't haul this in, and after this play, Jenkins is walking back shaking his head like, no, not in my house, and it was really just Calvin Johnson not being able to haul it down.
Is to Javid Best, and it'll bring up 3rd and short as he picks up 3.
You know, if you're one of these corners out there, you've got Calvin Johnson. I know, Joe, you said, you know, 6'5", 235. I think he's bigger than that, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't know that he's much taller than that, but he's probably 240 or more. And the jumping ability of his, shoot, no matter what you do to him, knowing that, hey, they could throw it up. They could right now, too, with Terrence Newman on him.
Stafford looks that way, throws, and completes for the first down. So Rob Ryan was aggressive. Newman gets up, slapping at the turf, and on 3rd down and a couple, the completion to Calvin Johnson.
Well, he shouldn't be slapping the turf because there's really not much he can do. You're guarded against, you know, in that situation, 3rd and short, you're playing the run. You got to expose your corner and not give up the big play.
Best is slammed down by Spencer. A loss of 1. Cowboys jumped out to a 17-0 lead. Led by 24 points with 10 plus to go in the 3rd quarter. Now it's a 6-point game. Stafford looking left. Calvin Johnson is overthrown. And he had Jenkins beat, but the throw too far. Game break. Here's Kurt.
Well, like the Lions, the Buffalo Bills trying to remain unbeaten, but they're in a game in Cincinnati. Andy Dalton's first career rushing touchdown evens things at 20 late in the 4th quarter. Joe, Troy, and Dan.
Well, they had a chance here. You know, Mike Jenkins is playing that. You see he raises his arm. He's expecting a safety to come give him help over the top. And he jams Calvin at the line of scrimmage, lets him go because there's a safety who busted coverage. They're fortunate. Matthew Stafford hits that. It's touchdown.
Playing without Sensabaugh, the Cowboys defensively. It's 3rd and 11. Stafford, penalty flag flies, and the pass incomplete. Church, the replacement for Sensabaugh, made the play on Burleson. And this call is against Detroit.
Holding. Number 76. Offense. Penalty's been declined. Result of the play. 4th down.
So Rob Ryan's group comes up with a stop.
That was a good stop by Dallas because Detroit had a couple of opportunities there, and of course the holding penalty on the last play would have brought it back, but Stafford had a couple of guys open that they failed to take advantage of.
Donahue punts it. Harris stays away. Penalty flag is on the ground, and this ball will be tapped at the 5. Flag is down on the near sideline. Good punt by the rookie Donahue. 45-yard punt. Nothing on the return, and we'll get the call from John Perry.
Bring the kick. Holding. Number 20 of the return team. Half the distance to the goal. 1st and 10.
They get Allen ball. Cowboys are backed up near their own end zone, up by 6.
Today's game is sponsored by the Ford F-150, the only truck available with EcoBoost.
This is the first time the Cowboys have started inside their own 20. This time they start inside their own 3. Up by 6. Under 10 to go. Handoff is to Felix Jones, who covers up the football. Bobby Carpenter on the tackle. He's made his presence felt. Former Dallas Cowboy has an interception returned for a touchdown, a gain of 2 by Jones.
Good composure right there by the Lions defensive front. Tony Romo, as a veteran quarterback, gets under there knowing that he's backed up and wanting to try to draw that defense off sides and pick up a cheap 5 yards to get off the goal line, but yet they hung in there and didn't bite. Nice work.
2nd and 8. Handoff is to Choice, and he got nothing. Now that defensive front, with all of their abilities, Tulloch made that tackle, but up in front of that linebacking group, you got Sue and Averill and Corey Williams and Vanden Bosch. Big bodies, and they can make a big difference in this spot, 3rd and 8.
Yeah, you got to be real smart about this offensively for Dallas. I wouldn't be surprised to see them come out here with some type of screen pass, but he's in the pocket holding it for very long. He'll be in the end zone.
On 3rd and 8, Romo gets hit. The pass is caught by Tashard Choice, but Averill made the play. And a gain of just 2.
Well, that kind of gives you an idea there defensively, Cliff Averill and the type of player that he is, that they're going to bring pressure, and with that, trying to get the hit, which they do then on Romo, make the ball come out of his hands. But if Averill's not able to get to the sideline and force that out of bounds, that's a big gain, one-on-one. What a great stop there defensively by the Lions, and now they're going to give the ball back to their offense with probably the best field position they've had all day.
McBriar with Logan on the return. And Stephon Logan is forced out, but inside Dallas territory. 53-yard punt, but a 14-yard return. Lions have it inside Cowboy territory, down 6. As you look at the offensive leaders for the Lions, Stafford's day best. Calvin Johnson, who has that touchdown. He's had 2 touchdown catches in each of the first 3 games. He has 1 today, and this is the first time the Lions have started a drive inside Dallas territory, down by 6. Stafford over the middle hits Pettigrew, and he's dragged down by Sean Lee after a gain of 9.
Well, now we see Detroit going back into their hurry-up offense, really no huddle offense. There's no urgency to it. But Jeff Backus, and now they've replaced Jeff Backus. He came off the field.
Corey Hilliard takes his spot at left tackle.
And he's got DeMarcus Ware over the top of him. That's not a good situation to come into.
Coming in cold. And yet they throw it. Ware gets to Stafford, and the pass incomplete. 3rd and 1 coming up.
I think Matthew Stafford knew this was a losing proposition, and DeMarcus Ware goes through him. They were trying to run the screen back to that side. Now they're checking Jeff Backus over here to see if he's going to be able to go back into the lineup. I was a little bit surprised, considering you lose your left tackle. They wanted to go the no huddle, but that's asking a lot of a guy coming in, Corey Hilliard, coming in cold, trying to pick something up like that quickly.
Dangerous tackle on Stafford. He's okay, and now Ware's looking at Hilliard again. And on 3rd down and 1, a first down carry by Keelan Williams. He takes it to the 30 with under 7 to go.
That was a nice execution up front. You're going to see the block down here, and then with the pull and the kick out. And that's what opens the lane then for Keelan Williams. He comes through, he kicks out on DeMarcus Ware in a nice little running lane there on 3rd and 1. And I think that, Joe, even if they hadn't have made that, as long as they didn't lose a ton of yardage, that was probably 4-down territory from where they were.
Keelan Williams, who was with the Redskins and Mike Shanahan last year. On 1st down, he gets it again. Over the right side, penalty flag flies. Looks like a hold as Perry threw it.
Holding.
Got up
66.
complaining.
Offense. 10-yard penalty. 1st down.
Former Dallas Cowboys, Stephen Peterman.
It's like a wrestling scrum at the end of that play when the flag was thrown. Peterman, the right guard, he's going to pull out. Quite see the hold. It was called on Peterman, the right guard, against Keith Brooking.
Brings up 1st and 20. Play clock at 0.
I don't know what it is. Every time they have a penalty, they get a delay of game. And the last time in the first half when they had delay of game, they had a penalty on the play before, and then they can't get the ball snapped. And they had a pretty good situation based on a pre-snap look right there, because Calvin Johnson was one-on-one on Terrence Newman.
Jeff Backus back in the game at left tackle. 1st and 25.
It looks like they're going to give Calvin Johnson one-on-one coverage again here.
Down at the bottom. Stafford looks right, hits Titus Young, and the tackle made immediately by Terrence Newman. A gain of 9 on 1st and 25. Here's what's on the line right now for the Cowboys. Their biggest collapse in a game. 24 points. It would be a new record for the Dallas Cowboys. There's Calvin Johnson again on 2nd and 16. Backpedaling as he throws, and the pass complete. Pettigrew, a missed tackle, and Brandon Pettigrew is down inside the 10 to the 8. A penalty flag is down on the sideline, and we'll get the call.
Pass interference. Off. Correction. Illegal block in the back. Number 13. Offense. 10-yard penalty. 2nd down.
They get Nate Burleson for an illegal block in the back. And instead of a 1st and goal, at the 7. This will move the ball back.
And it wasn't a block that he really had to make. You know, right there, it didn't look like Terrence Newman was really going to threaten Pettigrew too much on the tackle. And you saw Matthew Stafford, he saw it immediately, even before the flag was thrown.
They still haven't placed the ball down. And they're going to place it at the 33. Second and 12. Stafford to the end zone. And nothing there. But they're going to throw a flag. Terrence Newman and Titus Young. And it's pass interference. But against which side? No early indication. Rob Ryan thinks it's against Detroit. And it is. You see Titus Young with a hold of the jersey of Terrence Newman that drew the flag. Penalties have killed this Detroit Lions team.
Pass interference, offense, number 13. Penalty's been declined. Third down.
They're going to decline the penalty and make it third down.
Well, it's interesting that they're declining it. You know, the Lions had gotten into a position. Of course, the one penalty brought it back when they got it inside the 5-yard line, but they had gotten the ball in position for a field goal, and they're pretty close here. I mean, they don't have to pick up much. You know, if you're Stafford, you take a shot down the field. If it's not there, just know that if you pick up 5 or 6 yards, you're really helping out your kicker and trying to get field goal.
Third down and 12. Stafford underneath. Incomplete for Best. On this drive, 4 penalties called. A big one on Burleson for a block in the back. The most recent one for pass interference on Titus Young declined, and now it's fourth down with under 4.5 to play. And Hansen is on the field to try and make this a 3-point game.
Yeah, penalties the undoing of the Lions on that possession, but you know, Stafford using his head on that last play. He didn't want to give up the sack. There was pressure on him. He got it underneath. Now they failed to get any yards because of the incompletion.
51-yard try. This would equal Hansen's season long. Jason Hansen, perfect. And it's a 3-point game. And now the difference in this game, the 3 points the Cowboys put up at the end of a drive that was kept alive by a penalty on a hit by Ndamukong Suh on Romo. There's the block in the back on Newman. It was committed by Burleson, and now the offensive pass interference that was declined. But don't forget, the difference maker in this game right now is the penalty on Suh on that hit up into the face of Tony Romo. It kept the drive alive, and that's what led to their last 3 points.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, when you talk about that penalty on Suh, then, you know, kind of goes back to what just happened on this possession and then some others that we've seen throughout this ball game. The penalties have been the undoing of the Detroit Lions on really shooting themselves in the foot and not being able to convert, or at least in Suh's case, not being able to get off the field.
So the biggest Cowboy collapse in their franchise history back to 1960. In 1965, they blew a 21-point lead in November against the Washington Redskins. The biggest comeback for the Lions was back in 1957, October 20th against Baltimore. 24-point comeback. And this was a 24-point game with just over 10 to play in the third quarter, and now the lead for the Cowboys is down to 3. Hansen will kick it away. Lions have all 3 of their timeouts remaining, and this drive will start at the 20 for Dallas. Here's that big penalty, the only points put up by Dallas, and now the difference in this game here in the second half is that hit up high to Ndamukong Suh, who came over, kicked the trash can, and that led to the only points over the last 5 Cowboy possessions. 2 interceptions for Detroit touchdowns, the field goal, the end of that drive, and now 2 3-and-outs.
Well, and each time this Cowboys offense has taken the field here in the second half, things have gotten just a little bit tighter, and the margin for error has gotten a lot smaller.
From the 20, they'll start with a throw, and over the middle, this one is picked off. Intercepted by Tulloch. A penalty flag is down. And the indication is hold against Dallas. That pick should stand.
Holding. Number 63. Offense. Penalties decline. Result of the play. 1st and 10.
And the 3rd interception of this half thrown by Romo.
Yeah, the hold was against Sue, and Tony's in the pocket. He's just trying to lay one down the middle. Stephen Tulloch, who is expecting that, he's the middle linebacker playing depth, and he gets underneath Witten, but you know, they got the pressure in Romo's face one of the few times they have, and he tried laying it and just can't do that down the middle of the field like that when you're lobbing one.
So 3 second-half crushing interceptions thrown by Romo. How bad will this one hurt Dallas? Pass is caught by Calvin Johnson, and Barry Church hurt himself on the hit on Calvin Johnson. And he gets up with his right shoulder hanging. Let's go back to the interception.
You're going to see in the middle here the hold. Kyle Kozar, the right guard, he's the one who holds Sue. But the pressure is still there in his face. Now you're falling back, trying to lay one over the top. And what Romo sees is no middle safety. So if he's able to make that throw, then it's a huge play to Witten. He failed to be able to do that. That's the last play. A ball again that really got away from Matthew Stafford. Calvin Johnson protects his quarterback, makes the play. And then Barry Church, they're banged up already on that safety end. He's still on the ground.
Now Romo's thrown 3 interceptions in his last 11 attempts. The first 2 went for touchdowns. His friend Bobby Carpenter got him the first time. This was with the Dallas Cowboys up by 24. That was returned for a touchdown, as was that by Houston, and now the most recent by Tulloch. Think about the Lions in the second half and overtime the last 2 weeks. At Minnesota, they outscored the Vikings 26-3, including overtime. And today they've outscored the Cowboys 24-10, and they don't look like they're finished.
You go back and look at that interception, Joe, and what Tony Romo saw. There's no safety in the middle, so Witten is beyond everybody at that point. And Tony, because he was throwing off his back foot, could not get enough on it. But I see what he saw, or at least what he didn't see, and what he didn't see was a safety in the middle of the field. You're going to see right here, there's nobody beyond Witten, and so Romo's feeling, if I can get it far enough out there, that's a huge play then to Jason Witten. The problem is that's a tough throw to make in those circumstances when you're not able to step up in the pocket because of the pressure.
Second down and 1. Quick throw. Calvin Johnson down inside the 20. And with 3.5 to go, Matthew Stafford in his homecoming has got his Lions inside the 20 at the Dallas 16, down by 3.
Yeah, my guess is that, you know, obviously the Lions, they want to score a touchdown, but they also want to try to take some time off this clock too. And so there is obviously lots of time, and there's no point in trying to rush anything. And if I were Matthew Stafford, I'd start working that clock a little bit.
Best. Javid Best just spun his way down inside the 10. If you're just joining us and we got a new audience, this game has been hard to believe the way it has turned around. With over 10 minutes left in the third quarter, the Dallas Cowboys, who have come in winning 2 straight, led by 24 points. The defense in back-to-back series turned in interceptions against Romo into touchdowns. Returned for touchdowns. They've chipped away, and now they're within 3. He's got a first down inside the 5.
Good job at best. I'm impressed with what I've seen of him. I mean, he's just been knifing his way in that defense here for the last few possessions.
2 minutes left in this game in Arlington, Texas. The finish coming up.
Today's game is sponsored by AT&T. Get it faster with 4G. Rethink possible.
It is a 3-point Dallas lead. The Detroit Lions are knocking on the door with a 1st and goal at the Dallas 4. 2 minutes left. Lions have all 3 of their timeouts. Cowboys have 2. Here we go. Handoff is to Keelan Williams. He goes nowhere. And a timeout is taken by the Dallas Cowboys. I'll give you a recap, and it's like a seesaw. All Dallas early. Des Bryant with 2 touchdown catches. A 17-0 lead at the start. Witten got in on the fun. But then it was the Detroit defense. Bobby Carpenter, interception, return for a touchdown. Houston the same. Tulloch with the latest pick, setting up this opportunity, and what a roller coaster it's been through 4 games for Tony Romo. The GOAT after week 1. A hero after week 2 and 3. 3 second-half interceptions here today to allow the Lions back in at best. Nowhere to go. And now 3rd and goal coming up, and the Cowboys will take their final timeout. Marcus Spears, who got the start in place of the injured Jason Hatcher, was the first one there, and now it's 3rd and goal.
Yeah, you see what Detroit was trying to do is, run the ball, and if they don't make it, then force Dallas to call that timeout. But now with it being 3rd down, they would love to run it here, and if they don't make it, then they can run the clock down. But I don't think that's what gives them the best chance to score the touchdown from where they're at on the field. I mean, so they're going to have to throw it, and it's either then going to be a touchdown and a Detroit Lion lead, or it's going to be incomplete with still plenty of time left on the clock.
And what you then would figure would be a tie game.
That's right.
Who would have thought this game could come down to this play? Stafford pulls it back, throws it, penalty flag flies. The pass incomplete for Pettigrew. And it is a hold, which would be an automatic first down if it's against Dallas.
Fired and pass, holding, defense number 25. Half the distance to the goal.
They held Brandon Pettigrew right there, coming off the line. Frank Walker, Pettigrew, a big body, a guy who, if you're going to guard 2 guys down here, it's going to be Calvin Johnson and Pettigrew, and Frank Walker trying to keep him from getting off the line of scrimmage. Rightfully so. You can jam him, but you can't hold him like that when he's trying to get away.
Now 1st and goal. No timeouts remain for Dallas.
If you're Jim Schwartz sitting there thinking, wouldn't mind just kind of taking some time off this clock here if I knew we could score on 2nd or 3rd down.
They lob it. Calvin Johnson with a touchdown, but a flag is down in the back of the end zone.
Defense, 12 men on the field at the snap. Penalties decline. Result of the play, touchdown.
And for Calvin Johnson, that is 4 straight games with 2 touchdown catches in each, and this one puts Detroit on top for the first time today. 12 men on the field against Rob Ryan's defense, and this comeback for the moment has Detroit on top with a chance to go on top by 4.
Well, you can't double them down here. When you get that close to the goal line, you've got to cover them with one guy. Terrence Newman, he draws the short straw, and As we've talked about, Matthew Stafford, he knows that he's got a size advantage with Calvin Johnson. Just give him a chance. Calvin Johnson came down pretty hard.
He's got 8 touchdown catches, 2 in each game, but now a minute 39 remains for the Cowboys, who will get it back, but no timeouts, and this would be the biggest collapse in Cowboy history. 3 weeks after they blew their first game in the fourth quarter when leading by 14 or more at the Jets. A big extra point makes it a 4-point game. The Lions are a minute 39 off this clock away from starting 4-0.
This is remarkable. You know what we've seen throughout that first half. The Lions played about as poorly as they could play, and even to start this second half. And the only chance they really had of getting back into this game was to have some big plays made by their defense. And the defense not only made the big plays, but they got the touchdowns as well to really help out this offense. And you could see the momentum starting to shift at that point. And then the defense started getting the stops that they had last week against the Vikings. And you know, this is remarkable that 2 weeks in a row the Lions would come back from those type of deficits. That's hard to do at any time, especially difficult to do on the road.
Lions have outscored the Cowboys 31-3 over the last 23.5 minutes. And again for Detroit, the last 2 games in the second half and overtime, they've outscored the Vikings and Cowboys by a combined 57-13. That's what they've done in this game alone against Dallas. 14 of them directly put up by the defense on interception returns for touchdowns by Carpenter and Houston. And so with a minute 39 left, down by 4, Tony Romo can rescue what has been a nightmare second half and a historic Dallas Cowboy collapse.
Yeah, and for the Lions defensively, I mean, it comes down to them. It comes down to them being able to make a play, and I don't know that Jim Schwartz would like it any other way. But as bad as it has been here in this second half for Tony Romo, you're right. I mean, he's one play, he's one possession away from still being able to come out of this thing with a win.
Over the middle, it's Witten. And Jason Witten gets 9.5. No timeouts.
No timeouts, and Detroit will give up the underneath things. They just don't want the receivers catching the ball and getting out of bounds and stopping the clock.
Pass caught by Witten, left alone, and he's got a first down.
Tony Romo's pretty good in these situations. He'll take that and get it down the field to at least give himself a chance at the end of regulation to take some shots into the end zone.
He gets it to Witten, who hops out of bounds. So 3 in a row to Jason Witten. And still over a minute to go as the Cowboys try and rescue this game, or the Lions try and make a stop and start 4-0 for the first time since 1980.
You know, you watch these situations over and over, and a lot of times younger quarterbacks, they think they've got to get it all at one time. You can get the ball down the field pretty quickly by taking those 8-9-yard completions because the defense is so guarded about giving up the big play. I mean, already, as you said, Cowboys are almost at midfield.
In 38 seconds, here's Felix Jones. Gets a block momentarily from Ogletree, and he takes it to the 45 of Detroit. Chunking their way down the field with 46 seconds left. Stops the clock.
Well, you see now, and what it happens, Joe, with that incompletion is it allows Jim Schwartz to bring in another wave of defensive linemen. You can't substitute when you're in the no huddle. And Corey Williams and Cliff Averill and that group, they were exhausted. There was no real pass rush to speak of. The incompletion, the drop by Felix Jones allows now a fresh set of down linemen to rush Romo.
Lawrence Jackson comes in along with Willie Young. Vanden Bosch on the sideline, 2nd and 10. 4-man rush. Romo is sacked. They finally get to Romo, and it's Willie Young
Willie Young better quit dancing and get lined up.
Cowboys hustle back to the line. Ron Robinson bobbles it incomplete. And now the Lions are 11 seconds away from a 4-0 start. And this is the first sack of the day.
This was the first sack. You're going to see the pressure there by Young just goes right through the rookie Tyron Smith and is able to get Romo to the ground. And those are just killers when you're trying to preserve time. Right now, if they complete anything inbounds, they're going to have a hard time getting another snap off. They've got to get something to the sidelines, because I don't know from here if Romo's got near enough arm to get this thing into the end zone for a Hail Mary.
Maybe something quick to the sideline to get it on the next play. Pass is caught. A broken tackle, and Felix Jones has given the Cowboys at least a chance.
He makes a tackle there. It's game over.
He went right through Eric Wright, who had a chance to end the game.
Well, they get one shot now.
Well, now that's fourth down. That was a fourth down play which turns the ball over with 4 seconds left. And Jim Schwartz and the Lions celebrate a 4-0 start. And Jim Schwartz has a look on his face like, wow, coming all the way back from down 17-0, then down 24 points. They get a hold on fourth down, and with one snap of the ball, Matthew Stafford, who is back at home, will walk out of here a winner, a 4-0 team. And Tony Romo and Jason Garrett will have to answer a lot of questions after this one. We'll come back and wrap this one up. Right after this, the Lions, for the first time since 1980, under the direction of Jim Schwartz, have started the season 4-0. Back to wrap up after this.